Hello, 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 coaches. This is Coach Pam here. I'm coaching CEO of Coaching Simplified, and you are watching me on my YouTube channel of Coaching Conversations with Coach Pam. And tonight, or this week, I should say, welcome to International Coaching Week, where we are celebrating 30 years of service. When you think about International Coaching Federation, they've been in existence for 30 years. They're celebrating 30 years of providing excellence when it comes to coaching. And so every year in May, we celebrate International Coaching Week. And so my way of celebrating is coming to you live every night this week, Monday through Thursday. And I will be taking two of the core competencies each night and just having some dialogue and some conversation around them. And so, again, want to welcome you to what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, when you think about International Coaching Week and being a coach, it is a great time to celebrate coaching and all that comes with that. And so, what I want to talk about tonight is competency one and two. Competency one is demonstrates ethical practice, and competency two is embodying a coaching mindset. And so I do have notes. I like to be full transparency and full. I like to be fully transparent. I do have notes. So I will be looking to make sure that I'm covering everything that I want to cover tonight. And so let's just go ahead and jump in and get started. So when we talk about, ethical practices, core competency one demonstrates ethical practice. It's not just about covering the law, right? It's more than just a policy when we think about it. It is your coaching posture. It is how you show up as a coach, how you are positioning yourself as a coach. When you think about your scope of practice, what is your area of expertise as a coach, and ensuring that you are staying within that space. And so, as a mentor coach, and when I am mentoring, competency one is not one that's often talked about, but as a mentor coach, I am looking to see how you are demonstrating, competency one as it relates to demonstrating ethical practice. And so, what does that look like when you are a coach? Ethical practice is, how are you showing up as a coach? Setting the standard. How are you positioning yourself, as a coach professionally when you are speaking to your client? Are you listening? Are you presenting yourself to be professional with a level of integrity? And so when you think about the standard, what standard are you setting? Are you acting responsibly, with your client, in all professional interactions, ensuring that your integrity is one of the core. And so for every coach, there should be a level of professionalism and integrity as part of your core values as a coach. I will say though that every member of, ICF, as well as all of us that are coaches and that are credentialed coaches, when we are members of ICF, we are saying and we're making a pledge to uphold the ICF code of ethics, as coaches. And so while that may sound impressive, in a sense, you might really wonder, what does that really mean? And so tonight, let's make sure we're digging into that. It also means continuous growth. Okay, so you have completed your, coach training. Maybe you've done some CCEs, but how are you continuing that growth? Your learning does not stop once you have received your credential. The learning does not stop once you have completed your coach training, that there should be always continuous growth as a coach. And so that's where your mentor coaching hours are coming in every 3 years as part of the ACC credentialing, that you are, committed to continuing your growth as a coach. And so are you getting those mentor hours? And you don't have to wait until 3 years to get the mentor coaching. You can have mentor coaching at any time within your credentialing, within those 3 years. You don't have to wait until the third year to get the mentoring. You could get mentoring at any time. And so, thinking about how are you showing up as a coach? Are you continuously growing? Now we're referencing competency one, demonstrate ethical practice. The other thing around that is, are you leading by example? Upholding the highest standards for yourself as a coach. Are you inspiring trust and respect when you are working with your clients? Other things about clarifying your role as a coach, knowing that you're staying within, and I mentioned this earlier, staying within your scope of practice as a coach, not dipping into consulting and not, leading questions, or not dipping into therapy and things of that nature. So as a mentor coach, those are some of the things I am looking for to see how are you demonstrating ethical practices, because oftentimes it's not something that you see, right? It doesn't have any markers when you are, doing mentor coaching. So you want to make sure that you are demonstrating it in a way. Other areas to think about: managing a level of empathy. How are you communicating with the client during the session? Are you listening? Are you tuned into, your client? Are you respecting the boundaries that have been set with a client? And so when we're talking about demonstrating ethical practices, those are some of the things that we're referencing. Are you celebrating diversity, embracing the differences that may be between you and your client? And are you embracing those things and valuing the perspectives that your client may be bringing to the table? Other things to consider: are you fully present with your clients? And so I would challenge you to go to the ICF website. It's a new website, and and if you didn't know, the coaching ethical practice code of ethics, I should say, have been updated. They have been updated, I believe, as of April 1st. And so I have my copy. So I would challenge you to get your copy, read through it, let it become a part of your coaching. And so that you are always upholding yourself, as a coach, when you are, demonstrating ethical practices. Other things to take into consideration with all of this is, are you redirecting your clients when they're asking for advice? As you know, as coaches, we don't give advice or suggestions. So how are you navigating that, when you are, talking with your clients? So an example would be, you might have a client that just wants you to tell them what to do. And so a way to kind of divert from that may be to just notice and just acknowledge, I understand that, you would like some guidance here. And would it be helpful for us to explore, what your options are first, before we, dig into anything else? That's a way to partner with the client to ensure that you are not giving advice or suggestions, but you are at least acknowledging and noticing what the client is asking, and that you want to utilize their expertise first and utilize what they know first. And before you know it, when you dig into what the client knows, what you may have to offer is not even important anymore. And so those are things that you want to make sure that you are doing. And so here's something for you to practice when it comes to demonstrating ethical guidelines within your coaching: is think about what ethical boundaries might show up when you are coaching and you are, thinking about demonstrating ethical practices. And so think about that. And how can you stay fully in your role as a coach, even in tough moments? And so those are some questions I want to challenge you with. Again, what ethical boundaries might show up? So I want you to think about this before your next session. And then how can you stay fully present as in your role as a coach, even in tough moments, even when the conversation may go left? How can you still maintain your role as a coach? And so I want you to think about those questions, before your next session. All right, so let's shift gears here and get into competency two. So that one is embodying a coaching mindset. So when you are in coaching, embodying a coaching mindset, it is about being curious. Be curious. What questions are coming up when your client is speaking? When your client is sharing some insights, what questions are coming up for you? This is a skill that can be trained, but mindset is cultivated. So having that level of curiosity, knowing that it is a client-centered session. Um, when you are embodying a coaching mindset, perhaps you are reflecting before the session and after the session. Embodying coaching mindset, when I am doing mentor coaching, there are no specific markers per se, but there are, some other markers that may show up that can help you to know if you are embodying a coaching mindset. Trusting the client's wisdom. Are you trusting what the client, their perspective, and what they're bringing to the coaching session, even when they may feel stuck? And then another thing to think about is staying out of the judgment zone, and not trying to fix the client, but that you are listening to the client. And so here are some markers, some examples of markers where you could be embodying a coaching mindset. One is 5.4, the maintained presence. And its coach shows curiosity about the client. Remember, this is a client-centered. Coaching is client-centered. So how are you showing interest in your client? Are you curious about the things that they are sharing? Are you in a partnering type of relationship, or asking partnering type questions? Other thing to think about is 6.5, where is coach explores client self-perception. That you are taking time to really challenge the client in their thinking by asking questions to help them to explore their own perceptions, their own insights, that maybe perhaps that they have shared with you already, and that you are now helping them to explore it for themselves. And the other thing to think about is 7.5, where it's evoke awareness. And this one is coach shares insights with no attachment. So, are you listening to your clients enough to be able to share an observation, or perhaps share some level of insight where there's no attachment? So, whether the client agrees with you or not, whether they, have more to add or not, that you are able to show the client that you are listening, and that, oh, excuse me, I grab a drink of water. Sorry about that. So, in coach shares insight, I was saying without an attachment. So, how are you navigating that with the client? So, if your client has shared some insights with you, are you listening enough to be able to share with them some insights that you've heard, or to give them an observation? So whether the client acknowledges it or not, or agrees with you or not, that you're able to show that you are maintaining your presence, that you are evoking awareness within the client, that you are actively listening to the client, without any attachment to it whatsoever. And so I used to try to rescue my clients. When I first got started in coaching, I used to try to rescue them with clever reframes, right? And so sometimes they didn't land very well. And so because I wasn't trusting the client's perspective or even just trusting the coaching process, but now what I do is I pause more and allow the silence to be. Silence is golden in a coaching session. And oftentimes that silence or that space can be uncomfortable. And I had to learn to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, if you know what I mean, right? So just kind of being there with the client and being present and let the silence do the work. There can be some shifting there. And that's the mindset at work. So when you are embodying the coaching mindset, it's about how are you showing up as a coach? Are you respecting the client's insights? And so here's something for you to journal or even think about prior to your next coaching session. Where did I feel most present? So after you've had a coaching session, or maybe you've had a recent coaching session, think about where did I feel most present? And where did I try to control the outcome? Are you trying to control the outcome? And one other question to think about is what one shift can I make next time? So, those are a couple of questions that help you to really know to assess yourself and how are you showing up as a coach. And so, here's what I will say as I get ready to close this out. Your ethics and your mindset are the root of your coaching presence. They are the foundation. You have ethical practices when you think about scope, understanding. You've set some boundaries around your coaching. You are respecting your client, what they're bringing to the table. You have a level of professionalism and integrity as a coach. And so when you think about embodying a coaching mindset, this is how do you show up as a coach? Did you prepare for the session beforehand? Are you mentally and physically, you're physically there, but are you mentally there with your clients? How are you assessing yourself after the coaching session? Do you take a few moments to just really think about how you showed up as a coach today? What did you do well? What can you do differently next time? All of these things help you to demonstrate ethical practices as well as embody the coaching mindset. So, tomorrow we are going to dive into competency 3, establishing and maintaining agreement. And we're going to talk about competency 4, cultivating trust and safety. So I hope that you found this information helpful in just having some dialogue, as we walk through the competencies. So until next time, keep it simple, keep it curious, and honor your growth. Take care.